makeup is returnable, guys. Like, keep your receipts. Makeup is returnable, okay? Hey guys, welcome back to I'm Uniquely Made, and I'm your host Monique, and welcome to another episode of Makeup with Mo. So it's been a long time since I've sat down and recorded a video, and I figured I'd make a comeback with one of my favorite things to do, which is makeup. With that being said, I am taking it back to the basics. I'm going to help you lay down your foundation, no pun intended, to help you get to where you want to be in this thing. If you are someone who has been wanting to learn the skill of makeup application, whether it be for yourself or profit, and maybe you get so overwhelmed with all the processes and products that's going through these social media avenues, then this video is for you. I'm giving you some simple techniques with affordable products to help you get started on this journey. I also created a free downloadable guide that you can refer to as well, with all of the same tips that will be explained in this video. And as an added bonus, because I have so much confidence in your abilities, we will be taking it up a notch in part 2 in another video, and those steps will be included in the free guide. In part 2, we will be building on what we learned in this video and add a few more products to help take this simple look to the next level. Now it's holiday season, and you know the question that people ask during this time of year. What do you want for Christmas? Girl, you better ask for an Ulta gift card and not some new Uggs. You better ask for some money to invest in yourself and not a new Michael Kors bag, because this could be the gift that keeps on giving. It ain't nothing like adding on to your resume of skills. And with the money you can potentially earn by providing a service, then go ahead and buy those Uggs and that Michael Kors bag. And while you're at it, get me one too. Because don't forget who is with you shooting in the gym. Okay? Me. And please remember that beauty begins on the inside. A well-decorated exterior is artificial and shallow unless integrity is present. Alright, y'all. Let's get started. Well, y'all. I'm excited. I'm excited because this video has been on my mind forever. I have recorded several videos and they just never made it to production because I just didn't like it. And so this time around, I kind of went through and created a list of what I wanted to go over. I didn't want to just be speaking off the top of my head per se, but I did write this stuff down, and I'm actually going to be going off of the downloadable guide, okay, so that way I can stay on point and explain every point that I have made in this downloadable guide. So I think this will greatly help me, and I believe that this video is going to make it to production. So I don't care about what you've seen. I don't care about what other people are doing in the makeup world. I don't care. This is my way of doing things. I've been applying my makeup for the last several years, and I've been watching YouTube videos. I've been seeing what's, new and out, whatever, but I still stick to the way I do it. Ain't nothing wrong with sticking to, a simple way. I see people now where they don't even really apply foundation anymore. They just contour, highlight, whatever, and just add little foundation around the areas where they didn't apply those products. But at the very end of the day, who cares? And I think that's one thing where people don't want to get started because they keep seeing these new innovative ways to apply makeup, and they're like, that's too difficult. No, we're going to take it back. Let's just get back to, 2010. I don't even know when, but we're just going to take it back, do a full face of makeup application, and just go through what you would need as a beginner. So what you will need in this video is primer, liquid foundation, concealer, loose setting powder, bronzer, eyebrow pencil or pomade, mascara, makeup brushes, and a sponge. Okay, so that's about 8 to 9 products that you will need in this video. Very simple products. Again, I'm gonna run through them so that way you can see what I use, and they're very affordable. So first and foremost, you want to start on a clean face. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you that. You should always start your makeup on a clean face, and that's just that. Next, you go in with a moisturizer. I kept this part out because I did. I just feel like you should just go in with a moisturizer after cleansing your face. Go in with a light moisturizer. That's just my personal opinion. Don't go in with lotion. It's just another one of my tips. Do not go in with lotion, only because lotion has, you know, its own set of properties different than like a facial moisturizer. So definitely just stick to the facial moisturizing side. Now after you applied your moisturizer, now we're getting into the makeup part. So next we're gonna go in with a primer. Now I have written down different notes. Again, is in the free guide, so I'm gonna try to, you know, say what I have to say really quickly, so that way we're not like, this won't be a lengthy video. Okay, so a primer creates a smooth base for a foundation. It gives that foundation something to hold on to. It acts like the glue, y'all. It gives the foundation something to hold on to while also filling in pores, okay, and fine lines, and it creates other benefits. So if you are on if you have dull skin, you can choose a illuminating primer. If you have dry skin, you can choose a hydrating primer. And if you have large pores, then you may want to choose a pore filling primer. And if you want to, like, if you want your makeup to last like a lot of hours, a long time, maybe all day, then you can choose a gripping primer. So let me show you what I have. I have the e.l.f. hydrating primer. I have the e.l.f. illuminating primer. I also have the e.l.f. power grip primer. These primers work very well in my personal opinion, and they're very inexpensive. So I am going to opt for an illuminating primer today because I feel like my skin is on the dull side, and I'm just going to place it just like I would moisturizer. Don't think about it too much. Just place it where you want it. Now, if you're using a pore filling primer, most of the time the pore problem areas are right here on your cheeks and in the center of your face, and maybe even on your nose. So maybe just direct it in that area. But as far as a hydrating primer and an illuminating primer, you can pretty much use those in the same areas as you would a moisturizer. Now I do like to have my primer set for just like a minute or two to kind of dry up, to kind of just settle into the skin. I don't like to immediately go on with foundation on top of my primer, especially with a gripping primer. Like once you apply it, I just let it get a little bit dry, which they call like tackiness, and it kind of makes it a little bit sticky. Okay, now these primers don't get sticky because they're not a gripping primer, but gripping primers do tend to get sticky because they create, again, like a hold. So these create a hold as well. It's just a different kind. It's more like lightweight. So also in the guide, I do have my own product recommendations, so make sure if you aren't sure of what to get, I have my recommendations in that guide as well. So next we are going in with foundation. Now the foundation, I think, is the hardest part of the makeup process because this is your canvas. This is what you're starting on, so this may be the most or the hardest part in your makeup application, as far as finding a foundation that works for you, that just blends very well with your skin, that feels good, that doesn't irritate you. Like, this may be the hardest part. So I'm just going to go off what I have written. So a foundation creates an even, uniformed complexion while also covering imperfections on the skin to create a flawless look. So again, this creates your canvas, your base, okay? So my first tip would be to choose 3 shades. If you're starting off a beginner, choose 3 shades that's closest to your skin complexion. So you walk into the store, you say, this looks like it can be my shade. The next one beside it looks like it could be my shade. The one to the left of it looks like it could be my shade. Buy those shades, because makeup is returnable, guys. Like, keep your receipts. Makeup is returnable, okay? I used to not think that, but it is. I thought it was like, you know, when you buy like underclothes and you can't return that. Nah, it is. So get what you need, okay? Get what you think is your shade and try those shades out. So you can return whatever shade or shades does not work for you. Also, some foundations are cool toned, warm toned, or neutral toned. Based on the undertone of your skin is what you're going to choose. A general rule of thumb to help you decide which tone works for you would be decided by the color jewelry that looks best on your skin complexion. So an example, gold jewelry equals warm tone, silver jewelry equals cool tone, and both equals neutral tone. I personally like gold toned jewelry or gold jewelry, so I'm more on the warm tone. However, I think silver still does look okay on me, so maybe I can be neutral, but I'll stick to more warm toned foundations. Tip 2, foundation comes in 3 different finishes and coverages, probably even more, guys. I just stuck with what I researched and what I have in my collection, okay? So you choose one that best suits your skin type. So a satin finish, okay, if you hear that word, if someone says this foundation has a satin finish, that means it's half matte, which is not shiny, and half dewy. So it's half shiny and half not shiny. Does that make sense? Satin, okay? It's not glossy, it's not glossy, but it's not flat either. Does that make sense? Okay, then we have a matte finish, which is no shine. Matte is no shine. Then we have a dewy finish, which is shiny. Now, if you're someone who's oily, if your skin is very oily, you probably won't like the dewy finishes, okay? And if you're someone who's very dry, you might not like matte finishes. I tend to opt for more satin to matte finishes. That's just my personal opinion. I prefer satin. This is what I wrote in the downloadable guide. I prefer satin or matte finishes of foundation over a dewy finish. It's easier to add moisture or create dewiness with a matte foundation than it is to mattify a dewy foundation. So it's easier, if you have a matte foundation, it's easier to add moisture with your primer or maybe oils underneath your makeup to make that matte foundation look a little bit less matte. But it's a little bit harder to mattify a dewy foundation. Does that make sense? It's easier to take a foundation from dry to looking wet. It's harder to take it from wet to looking dry. I hope I make sense. So, and then the coverages, so that was the finishes that we went over. The coverages are light, medium, buildable, to full. Light closely mimics natural skin complexion, okay? So this is like skin tints or anything like that. A very light foundation, which just looks like your skin, but looks like maybe you have like a little bit, like you have lotion on with a little bit of color, maybe. Okay, then we have medium buildable, which is medium to full coverage when multiple layers are applied. So sometimes if you apply one layer of a medium or buildable foundation, you may get a nice coverage, but then if you apply another layer, you get a full-blown effect, you know? So depending on like what you're going for, you may add another layer. Then you have a full coverage foundation, which, you know, one layer is likely enough, okay? You don't want to go in with 2 layers, you feel me? So again, I hope that makes sense. You have your light, medium buildable to full coverage foundation. I like medium buildable because I can build up, you know? Sometimes I don't want a full coverage look, okay? So depending on whatever scenario, you know, whatever scenario you're in, if you're going to a wedding or something, you might want full coverage. If you're just running to the market, you might prefer a skin tint, something just, if your skin is already nearly perfect, you might prefer a skin tint which is light coverage, okay? And if you are someone who, you know, wants to just buy one foundation, but you like when one layer looks, you like the way that one layer looks, you will go with a medium coverage, okay? So my third tip is foundation can oxidize, y'all. Foundation can oxidize, meaning once oxygen hits it, it will change colors. It will look a little bit darker, maybe it will look a little bit lighter. So I suggest when you buy your foundation to wear it for a little bit, you know, wear it for a couple minutes, see how it looks. You feel me? It might look like a different shade and you might need to go down a peg or go up a peg. You feel me? So apply it in the natural lighting. Don't apply it under like yellow lights. Try to apply it under natural lighting or with daytime light bulbs, you know, like a ring light almost, like, because if you apply it in like that yellow lighting, it's definitely gonna look different. So try to be in the most natural looking light when applying your foundation or trying to choose a shade, because it will look a whole different color once you step in to the natural light, okay? Trust and believe. So, and last tip, in the summer, you know, we tend to tan versus, you know, in the winter, causing your foundation shade to change, usually one shade or two darker. So in the wintertime, I'm much more warm. I mean, in the wintertime I'm much more cool. In the summertime, I'm much more warm. So I might change a shade or two, okay? So, and if that happens, I might have a lighter foundation on hand. I can just mix it a little bit. It's not the biggest difference, but there is a difference. So be cautious of that. All right. So now we're gonna get into the first tool we need to apply our foundation. So I also have a list of foundation brushes that I recommend in the downloadable guide. These are from Amazon, very inexpensive. And then I have some sponges here that are very inexpensive as well. These are from Amazon. These come in like a 5-pack and they work just as well as like the higher end sponges. So, and it's $8.99. You can't beat that. So I suggest, as a beginner, getting both. Just get both of these so that way you can experience your application with both. And plus this has eye brushes too, so you can, you know, use the eye brushes. This sponge you have to use wet though. I highly suggest you use it wet, only because you get like the best application possible. So I'm going to take a little bit of foundation and just go ahead and apply it on my finger, or, you know, you do it whatever way works for you. All right, and I'm applying it on my face. And then I'm going to take the dome end of this sponge and start patting that foundation in. Very lightly. You see the coverage already? So this is like a medium buildable coverage foundation. And you see where I'm taking it? I'm taking it under the chin. I'm taking it down the neckline. Not all the way down my neck, but just enough to blend in. Now, when applying your foundation, you want to avoid the under eye around here, only because we are going to go in with concealer and we don't want too much product in that area, okay? So just try your best to avoid applying a lot of product in that area. If you need more foundation, just go ahead and place it on your sponge, you know, maybe a half a pump, and place it where you need to place it. Make sure you get in the creases of your nose. around your mouth. And if there are areas that have a little bit more scarring, go ahead and add more foundation. Like my cheeks from acne scarring are the, are the most pigmented area. So I tend just to add like a little more product in that area. But, just be gentle. Just build it up. Alright, so next we're going to get into eyebrows before concealer. This is the way that I like to apply. This is the steps or the system that I like to use to apply my makeup. So with this brush set, it does come with a spoolie actually. And so this is the spoolie right here. And it has a angled tip on the other end. So this spoolie is useful because you can use this spoolie to brush out your brows, obviously, and get them into position. Now, I obviously have a lot of brow to work with. I know a lot of people don't, and I'm sorry if I can't give the most educated teaching on this because I have brows. I'm sorry. I have brows and I very much don't really need to like fill them in. So just a little bit. So I'm just going to tell you.
Sorry, could you say that again?
So I am going to just fill in my brows how I would normally do. So I'm taking a eyebrow pencil from the brand NYX, which is very inexpensive, and here is my tip. Never opt for black because black can make your eyebrows very harsh and unnatural looking. So definitely opt for a eyebrow pencil that it maybe matches your root color, maybe just a little bit lighter, but never opt for black. And with my brows, I just fill in the sparse areas. So like the tail right here is the sparse area, and kind of up here, and sometimes like down here, but I rarely do much to my brows as far as filling in because they are very defined. And it's a blessing and a curse. Trust and believe that these things will connect if I will grow a unibrow if I don't keep them tamed. Okay, so just take a look at your natural shape. This really is an experiment because I used to draw on some harsh brows, and by the grace of God I got it together. But definitely just try and experiment to see what works for you. And please note that the front of your brows are always the lightest, so never fill them in too much because the front of it should be very light and not so filled in. If you feel like you filled them in a little bit too much, just go in with the spoolie and kind of brush it out. And if they're not perfect, we're going to go in with concealer to clean them up. Okay, so I'm actually going to use the other end of that spoolie right here for my concealer application to clean up my brow. So let's get into concealer. So similar to foundation but thicker, concealer conceals or hides dark circles, blemishes, and imperfections on the skin. Okay, so my tip will be to choose a concealer shade that is 1 to 2 shades lighter than your foundation, or one of each. So I actually have a concealer that is like very close to my shade, and then one that is like a shade lighter or two. Okay, I like to have both. So these are the LA Girl Pro Concealer. If you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure that you have probably seen these. I just feel like you've probably seen these all the time. These are great. Okay, I have used these. These were my first concealers. Okay, these are my first concealers. Not these, but this brand. Okay, so definitely choose one that is, I'd say, go with one that is close to your complexion and one that is a shade or two lighter, okay? So when you go to apply your concealer, you'd want to, now these come with a brush, okay? These come with a brush, but I really don't like using the brush because I just feel like I don't have a lot of control. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this brush right here. Remember this angled one that we have from the brush packet, and I'm gonna take some and place it on, you know, take some from here and place it on here, okay? And then I am going to outline my brow with that angle. And then I'm gonna use the edge just like that. You see how this kind of defines it underneath there a little bit? And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. See that? See how it just defines the brow a little bit? And then we can go on top of the brow and define it even more. Sometimes I don't do this, sometimes I do, but if you have, like, you know, destroyed the top of your brow, like filling them in, maybe you need to do this step to kind of define it. But you see how it just brings the brow forward? And I'm just using the side of the brush and just doing like that. I'm just using the side of the brush and creating my shape. I'm gonna take some of that concealer and go between my brows. And then we can use this brush and kind of, I mean not the brush, the sponge, and kind of blend around the edges to diffuse the line that we have made. If you want, you can also use the pointy side. Just like that, okay? But let's go to the next step. So with the lighter concealer, or you can go with the same concealer that you use with your, using your eyebrows, I'm going to take this one right here with the brush, and I am going to apply my concealer underneath my eye. So this is what's really going to highlight the eye and just make you look more awake versus having dark circles underneath your eye. And I'm gonna go on like a V-shaped, almost like a V shape. Y'all, I'm sorry if I'm not the best teacher. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. I'm gonna go on like a V shape. Now, most of the time people don't do this anymore, but honey, this worked for me and still works for me. Just like that. Okay? If you don't feel comfortable using as much product, then just stay in like this area, like right at your eyeball, you know, and then you can blend out whatever product you have up until that point. And then, because we want our eyes to be so uniform, okay, we want all around our eyes to be uniform, and plus we can use this concealer as an eyeshadow base, okay, like meaning we can even out our eyelids and make them look more uniform. So I'm going to take some more. Matter of fact, let me show you the difference. I'm going to put it on one eye, okay? I'm going to put concealer on one eye, and first I'll show you the difference. Here we go. So I've only concealed the under eye of one eye, and then I'm gonna blend out all of this. So when you apply your concealer, let it sit for like 60 seconds to kind of let it dry a little bit so you can get the most maximum coverage as you can when it comes to your concealer. If you just go immediately blend out it might look more sheer, but if you let it sit for a minute, get kind of tacky, dry down, then when you go to blend it out, it won't move as much. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with the pointy side of the sponge, and we're gonna start at the inner part of the eye, and we're gonna tap ever so lightly and blend that concealer out, which should only take a few taps. Like literally, I'm pretty much done blending it out. You see how highlighted and bright it looks? Okay, like you don't have to do much. Now let's do the other eye, and I'm gonna do the eyelid. Okay, and I'm gonna blend that concealer on eyelid all around my eyelid, up into the corner of my eyebrow. You see the difference? You see how dark this eyelid looks versus this one? This one looks bright and fresh and awake, you know? That's why I said apply concealer on the eyelid, which is going to, again, act like an eyeshadow base when we get to that part. Now, some people do use eyeshadow primer, but for a long time, this is what people were using. People were just using concealer as their base. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, you can use your little eyeshadow primer, but is it necessary? I don't think so. Why not just use what you already got? Now, you see how bright and awake we look around our eyes? That's what we want. So when we apply concealer, we have to set our concealer, because honey, this concealer will move and crease and crack. So I have a Sephora setting powder. This is a translucent setting powder. Now, setting powder comes in different shades. You have translucent, which is like clear. Sometimes you have a banana one, which is like more yellow tone, and it can even be darker for darker skin tones. However, I recommend using a translucent just because it can pretty much suit all skin complexions with some modifications. Sometimes really dark skin may not get away with this. I'm not too sure, but I suggest as a beginner going with a translucent just so you can get, you know, used to using powder. But I like this one from Sephora because it's inexpensive. It's $15, but it's still inexpensive and you get a whole lot of product. So I like to take some and place it into the cap here, and I just like to move it around a little bit, and then I'm going to take the same sponge and I'm going to make sure that where the concealer has settled into my under eye, especially in these little creases, I'm just going to again blend just a little bit just to get the creases out, and then I'm going to dip in the powder just like this, and I'm going to take on the back of my hand, kind of make sure it is not too much. Now it's a little bit less, and now I'm going to set where I put that concealer right underneath my eye. Do it again for the other eye. And it's so sheer that you can't even like see when I'm applying it, but trust and believe it's there. And I'm also going to take some and place it on my eyelid where I applied the concealer on my eyelid. And that is what you call setting your concealer, okay? So now we're going to get into bronzing, because this is where we need to bring some dimension back into our face. When we, you know, apply foundation, we kind of lose our shade, our highlights, because we're just applying a flat, you know, canvas where it just looks so even. The face naturally has like dimension to it, where it's a little bit warm in some areas. Some areas are a little bit more pronounced and forward because of light. So around the center of our face, around our eyes, around our forehead, around our chin is where typically light just hits. The hollow points of our face, our cheekbones, our temples, is where we get a lot of depth and dimension in our face. So we need to bring that back, okay? So this is what we call bronzing or contouring. Contouring is a little bit more in depth. We're going to get into that in part 2. But bronzing is what we definitely need when you have applied foundation. You need to bring that warmth back into the skin, or else you'll look very, very flat. Okay, so I suggest, let's go on with, let's go on what I wrote. Bronzer creates a sun-kissed glow and brings back warmth and dimension to the face. Okay, so my first tip is choosing a bronzer that is 1 to 2 shades darker or warmer than your foundation shade. Also steer clear of products with added glitters and shimmers and shine. Opt for a more matte or no shine finish. Okay, also as another tip, a 2-in-1 product that comes with bronzer and highlight is more cost effective, but I'd say a 4-in-1 product, or something that has everything you need in one product, is a blessing. Okay, because you get everything you need in one, instead of buying a highlight, which is going to be in part 2, or a blush, which will be in part 2. You can get a bronzer and contour, highlight and blush, all in one. Okay, so but they also have duos where you have a bronzer and highlighter, or a bronzer and blush. Go with what is most cost effective. So this right here is cost effective because I get everything I need in one. However, we're just going to be sticking to bronzer in this video. Okay, so this bronzer is a little bit warmer than my shade, so this is what we are going to use. All right, so I'm going to go in my little handy dandy makeup brush collection that I got off of Amazon, and I'm gonna use this little angled fella right here. This will be really good in applying bronzer. Okay, so I'll just take my bronzer, go in it, tap off any excess. Now the bronzer, I can tell which one is bronzer because it's more warm. Contour is more cool tone because that creates deep shadows and can actually change the structure of your face. So I'm going to go in with the bronzer, dip off the excess, and apply where my face would normally be warm. Now I have added a little guide all the way at the bottom of the guide to show you where you would place your bronzer depending on the shape of your face. I am more, I think I'm more of a round face, so I'm just going to apply my bronzer on my cheeks right here where the sun would naturally hit. And you see that already? Like, you see that warmth already? This is what we want. This is what we want. And then I'm going to bring it around my temples because that's, again, where warmth would hit. So look at the difference. This side and this side. This side and this side. We need that warmth back into the skin. And then I'm going to bring some around my temple, but I am going to avoid the center of my face because I want to keep that highlighted. I really hope we can tell the difference. I know we do. And if you feel like you've added too much bronzer, which I don't, I'm just showing you what to do, just go ahead and go in with the same foundation sponge you used to apply your foundation and kind of just pat over it. It will kind of help remove some product, melt it more into the skin. But I think mine looks well because, again, we're just bringing some dimension back into the face and adding some warmth. Now, we are going to use that same bronzer as an eyeshadow, okay? We're going to go in with our makeup brush set And we are going to take the more rounded brush, which, you know, is the only rounded like one in there. And we are going to use that as an eyeshadow, because why not? Okay, this is what you call bang for your buck. Bang for your buck, okay? So we are going to go in, tap that in there, tap off the excess, okay? And we're gonna go into the crease of our eye, and we're gonna create some dimension very lightly, and I'm gonna show you the difference. We're gonna avoid the eyelid because since we apply concealer there, it already looks bright. So we're gonna utilize that. We're gonna utilize that to our advantage and just keep that area light. And we're just gonna go around the hollow point of our eye. So if you feel your eye, like in here is my crease. So I'm just going in that crease and just applying this bronzer, because why not? And look at the difference. You see how it just creates a little bit more depth in the eye versus this eye? Now you can build this up if you want it just a little bit more darker. I tend to go from like the outer point, I'll kind of blow it out and then I come in. So I create like a V. I go from here, blow it out towards the tip of my brow, then I go in to the crease and into the socket of my eye. I just love it. It looks so good. I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side, but I'll probably just speed this up. Alright guys, so I'm done with adding dimension to my eyes, and I think it looks so good. With just one color, it looks very, very, very good. So moving on, we are now going to go in with some mascara, because since this is a basic simple look, we are not going to put on eyelashes. So we're going to just go in with mascara. So here are my tips for mascara, which is probably one tip. For real. So mascara is used to enhance the eyelashes, okay? It can darken, thicken, lengthen, and define the lashes. So my tip would be to choose a mascara with a thin wand, because a thin wand creates much better control when applying. So this one right here, which is a L'Oreal telescopic mascara, it has a very, very thin wand. There are some other products that have thick wands, and from my personal experience, it's very hard for me not to like mess up with those thick wands. But for some reason I don't mess up when it comes to this, okay? So if you have an eyelash curler, I would suggest curling your eyelashes, but you don't need to. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna curl one to see, you know, maybe show you guys the difference. But quite honestly, you probably don't need to, because most of the time I don't, okay? So with mascara, you just want to apply a coat. I like to coat the top, and I like to bring it down, and then I like to go from the bottom and shimmy it up, like a shimmy, like a, you know, like static, if that makes sense. And I like to add a coat or two or three, mostly just two. So here is one coat, and here's my eye without it. I'm gonna go on the other eye, Okay, is there a difference? Probably not. Probably not. And so now I'm gonna go on the bottom lash. Just coat those bottom lashes. Then I'm gonna add a second coat. Alright, and after you have applied your coat of mascara, as many as you like, it can be 1, it can be 2, shoot, it can be 10 if you want to. We're gonna move on to lips. Now at this point you can add a lipstick, lip gloss, you can add a bold lip, you can add a simple lip gloss, some chapstick if you want to. But I'm just gonna go in with some lip gloss because why not? This is like a look I would do if I was running errands, if I was gonna spend the day running errands, you know, but I just wanted to feel put together, or even if I was going to church. This is a look that I would do. Because it's really simple and effortless, and once you get the hang of it, you'll be doing it in about 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe not even that. So this is my simple makeup look. I did not add blush or highlight or anything like that because this is a very basic look. I feel like the products I use are definitely what you need when you want to do a simple look. Now remember, stay around for part 2, okay, which will probably be after this video, where we just elevate this look and add lashes and contour and highlight and blush and a bold lip, okay, to make it look just that much better. I feel like this look is already cute, you know, like it's already good, it's already cute, but we can definitely add a little bit more just to elevate this look. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something today. I hope I was a great teacher. You know, it's very outside of my comfort zone, okay, but I tried. And I just want to point something out that I did forget to mention something. Just a little bit of facts about the makeup brushes, because I pretty much just touched on them just a little bit. So like I said, these brushes are from Amazon, and here's my tips on makeup brushes, okay? Opt for more synthetic makeup brushes over natural haired brushes, because these synthetic ones, they don't absorb as much product as a natural hair brush would. And they are typically much more affordable. If you think about it, when it comes to fake hair, synthetic hair is cheaper than the 100% real virgin hair, okay? And synthetic hair, like, you really can't like wet, you feel me? Or, you know, you really can't style like you would natural hair. So think of it like that. These are much more inexpensive and they don't absorb product, meaning when you apply your foundation or, you know, anything, it won't absorb, you know, you'll get more product, you feel me? And then makeup brush sets are much more affordable than buying each one individually. I did a review on these, so I will have it linked, and I highly recommend, okay? And then when it comes to these sponges, I think I did mention this, but make sure you use it damp. So you run it under water, you squeeze out the excess, and then I like to take a paper towel, wrap it around, and continue to squeeze. Just make sure it's not dripping, okay? Make sure it's not dripping. So that's just my tips on makeup brushes. And I know I didn't use any face brushes, but again, I did a review on these. And, you know, with the face brushes, as a beginner, like, I feel like it's a little bit harder to use makeup brushes because it can look a little bit streaky if you don't really know how to apply it. So that's just it, y'all. I think this video is probably already long, but I'm gonna end it right here, and I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of Makeup with Mo, where we get into part 2 in the elevated look. I'll see y'all in the next one.